Okay, sorry I'm late today. There's all kinds of emergencies. um, and then my motorcycle has been in the repair shop for over 2 weeks, so it means I have to drive my car everywhere. So today traffic was heavy, and then when I got to the parking lot, it was blocked. And they're like, I was trying to think, where am I supposed to go? And then I think the sign said go around the other side. So anyhow, sorry about that. I've been busy. I'll just remind you, I'll do a little bit of guangao here. I can remind you again next week, but November 4th and 5th, we have the COMPASS Festival at Taichung Civic Square, Taichung Shimin Guangchang. So starting at 12 noon, about 12点钟, until about 9 o'clock on Saturday and until 8 o'clock on Sunday, we have this event. I think some of you have been to it before, but I can't believe this. I was thinking about this, and this is our 19th year of doing this event. So I told my friends, I said, suddenly I feel very old. But yeah, so we've been doing this for 19 years, and so we'll be again at Shimin Guangchang, and we'll have about 45 vendors, 45个摊位, and about 18 bands and musicians. So if you like live music and you like food and drink, make sure you come to that. Now, I will say one thing I've been bragging about a little bit is, I don't know if any of you went to the jazz festival, 爵士乐节, but one thing that was a little bit different was they didn't have any tanwei. There were no food and drink vendors. So I've been telling my friends, I'm like, well, if you come to COMPASS Festival, we have food and drink vendors. So you can check that out. I know everyone likes to eat and drink. Okay, so anyhow, just want to remind you about that. So I thought we would start with this article. It says, Lithuania speaker touts democratic ties. Okay, now, there's a couple good words here. First of all, Lithuania. Okay, I think you know where is this? Where in Europe? Near Russia. Okay, so it's funny how recently Taiwan has had good relationships with Lithuania and its neighbors. And if you remember, if you know your geography, Dili, there are actually geography. Yeah, Dili. Yeah. There are 3 small countries there. Right next to each other. There's Lithuania, and what are the other 2? Does anyone remember? There's 2 more, very small countries right next to each other. Yep, very good. So Estonia. Okay, and what's the next one? One more. Estonia, and there's 3. Okay, I'll starts with an L. Yeah, Latvia, very good. Okay, so these 3 small countries are part of the former Soviet Union, Sulian, and we call these countries Baltic nations, okay? And the reason why we call them Baltic is because there's a sea there called the Baltic Sea, okay? I don't know how you say this in Chinese. Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever you said. So anyhow, we talk about these as Baltic nations or Baltic countries, or this 3 Baltic, there's 3 Baltic countries, and only those 3. Those are the only ones we usually call Baltic countries. But anyhow, they're all very small. They're very democratic. They're all 民主国家, and they're all recently, especially Lithuania. But I think all 3 countries have been quite friendly to Taiwan. In fact, it's very interesting. In the last year or 2, whenever I go to Jialefu, I look at the beer section, the pijiu, and there's a lot of pijiu from these 3 countries, from Lithuania, from Estonia, from Latvia. I think because Taiwan has good relationship with them, so now they're importing their beer. So anyhow, why don't we say these countries together, because they're all good to know. Lithuania. Lithuania. Okay, and then this one, Estonia. Estonia. Latvia. Latvia. Yeah. And I've heard they're nice places to visit. If you get a chance and you're in Eastern Europe, in the Baltic area, you can go see these countries. So why don't we say this together? Baltic Sea, Baltic nations, Baltic nations. Okay, so anyhow, we have these three little countries, and they really are very they're very 民主, they're very democratic, and I think they're all part of NATO. What do they call that? NATO. NATO, NATO, 北约. Yeah, they're all part of 北约 because they're a little bit worried about Russia, because Russia is right next door. So it's interesting because I feel like these three countries, one of the reasons they're very friendly to Taiwan is because they can understand Taiwan's situation, right? They're three small countries very close to a very big country that is not very friendly to them. So anyhow, I think they have a good relationship. So anyhow, it says Lithuania speaker touts democratic ties. Now, speaker, of course, when we talk about speaker, it doesn't mean they're just speaking. It means they are what? This is a title. And what kind of title is it when we say someone is a speaker? You know? What? Well, speaker means to give a speech, but here it's a title. It's a person. Okay, so I'll give you a clue. In Taichung Shiyihui, right, the Taichung City Council, there is a speaker. And what do you call that in Chinese? The council speaker, Taichung Shiyihui, the speaker, what do we say? That is in Chinese, we say they are the 议长, right? Okay, so this is the 立陶宛议长 for their national assembly. Like in Taiwan, we have the 立法院, right? In Taiwan, the 立法院 speaker is, I think, Yo Shi-kun, right? Okay, so anyhow, we have the Lithuania speaker, touts democratic ties. Now, this word tout, we've talked about before, and what does it mean? If you tout something, what are you doing? There's a simple common word for it. Starts with a P. If you say, I want to tout, I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a big clue. What? Not praise. Praise is same. Close. Huh? No, not persuade. I'll give you a big clue. About 2 minutes ago, I was touting the COMPASS Festival. What does that mean? Not so. What did you say? No. I'll just tell you. It's to promote. Okay? So if I want to promote something, I want to, 推广, I want to, 宣传, mostly 推广. Okay, so I was touting the COMPASS Festival. I was saying, hey, come to the COMPASS Festival. It's going to be a good time. So I was touting this event. So to tout something means to promote it, okay? And occasionally we use the word tout to describe a person. If you are a person and your job is to promote something, we might say he is a tout. He is a tout. This is a person. Like I'll give you a great example of a tout. Usually it's not like anybody. It's like a specific kind of promoter. Sometimes if you go to the 夜市, right, night market, and you see these guys with the microphones and they're shouting and they're saying, hey, come over here, buy this, 打五折 or whatever, and they're telling people and they're shouting very loudly. That's the kind of person we would call a tout. They're there to promote something. They're talking about it very loudly. So often we say, oh, that's a tout or night market tout. But normally we use this word as a 动词. It means to promote something. Okay, so why don't we say together, touts? Touts. Okay, it's not a word we use every day, but it is a good word. Okay, and let's say this word too, promote. Promote. Of course, this is a much more common word, to promote something. Okay, so we could say Lithuania speaker promotes democratic ties, or ties, of course, means relationships, right? 关系 relationships. Okay, here it says shared values. The Legislative Yuan yesterday conferred a Medal of Honor on Victoria. Oh boy, I don't know how to pronounce that. Victoria something Nielsen. For her tremendous contributions to supporting Taiwan. Okay, so the Legislative Yuan, 立法院, yesterday conferred a Medal of Honor. Now, you know what a medal is, right? if you do something amazing, or you show a lot of bravery, or you're in the army and you do something heroic, you're like a 英雄, often they'll give you a medal, something you wear. Now, I still remember when I was in high school in Taichung, every year we would participate in the Taichung, what is it, the 体育会, right? The 运动会, right? And at the, the, what was that called? It was the Taichung 体育馆, over there on Shuangshilu. And of course, if you won the race, or you got second place or third place, they would also give you a medal, right? We call that a medal because it looks like you wear it around your neck. So here, this is called a Medal of Honor. This is a very high award. Okay, so let's say Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor. Okay, now when we get an award, let's say you do something or you win something and someone gives you an award, we use this word a lot. If you give someone an award, we say they conferred an honor, a Medal of Honor on somebody. They conferred it on, okay? So you can say they conferred an award on somebody, or you can say I was conferred with something. It means someone gave me an award or a medal. So this word conferred is very specific, usually used with an award or a medal or something like that, some sort of honor. Somebody says, hey, good job, you did this, amazing, Okay, so let's say this word too, conferred. Conferred on. Okay, and why did she get this medal? For her tremendous contributions to supporting Taiwan. Now, tremendous means, what would be some other words for tremendous? What else? What? Giant, yeah, we could say giant. What else? Huh? Marvelous. Marvelous, maybe. Marvelous means, wonderful. But I think tremendous is more like, there's a very simple word, I would just say. Maybe big, but I would probably say just great. This is tremendous, amazing, great, okay? I mean, you could say these other words like giant or wonderful. But yeah, when I think of something as tremendous, you can say, well, that is a tremendous honor. You can say that's a great honor, a big honor. There's all kinds of words we can use. So let's say it together, tremendous. Tremendous. For example, let's say you go to see a movie and someone says, how was the movie? You say, well, that was a tremendous movie. Or how was the COMPASS Festival? And you say, oh, it was I had a tremendous time, okay? Now, of course, that means I had a great time, a wonderful time, marvelous time. So these words all can be used back and forth. Okay, so she's provided a lot of support for Taiwan, so therefore she got this medal. Okay, let's go on and read the article then. It says Lithuanian, okay, this becomes a 形容词, Lithuanian Parliament Speaker Victoria, we're just going to say Nielsen, because I have no idea how to pronounce that. You notice there's a C and an M. I don't know if it's, I don't even want to try. I'll embarrass myself. Okay, so anyhow, yesterday highlighted the shared values that have brought Vilnius and Taipei closer while stressing the importance of continued economic cooperation in a speech at the Legislative Yuan in Taipei. Okay, so we have Lithuanian Parliament. Now, I think you all know Parliament is another group for national representation. In America, we say Congress, right? In England, we say Parliament. In Taiwan, we say Legislative Yuan. In Japan, they have the Diet, right? Or Diet, I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyhow, Parliament is a common name too. So let's say together, Parliament. Parliament. Lithuanian Parliament. Okay, so she highlighted, okay, and again, we've talked about this word before. What would be some other words for highlighted? Not focus. Focus means to focus. Well, I guess you could say focus. I mean, I guess you could, but there's some other words. Emphasize. Yeah, that's a good one. What else? What? Headline? Not really. Headline means to, it's used in a different way. For example, if I said at COMPASS Festival, this band, we're going to headline this band. It's just used in a slightly different way. but we said emphasized. Okay, actually, let's go to the next page. Emphasized. Is it PH? No, it's no H, right? I think so. Oh yeah. I think I'm spelling that right. We could say highlighted. We could say underlined. We could say stressed. Yeah, that's a good one. Stressed. Okay. We could say, is it PHA? Okay, sorry. Is it? Okay, sorry. Yeah. EMPHA. No, that's not right. Oh. Ah, okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. It's too early in the morning for me. Yeah. I don't feel bad though, because often I have Taiwanese friends and I hear them talking to each other and they say, "How do you write 那个字怎么写?" And they're all like arguing about how to write that character, right? And I forget how to write that character. So I'm not the only one who forgets things. So yeah, this is right. Emphasize. Thank you. Okay. So emphasize, underline, stressed. We have highlighted. Those are some of them. I'm sure there's others, right? So anyhow, let's say these together. Highlighted. Highlighted. Emphasized. Emphasized. Underlined. Underlined. Stressed. Stressed. Okay. So yesterday I highlighted the shared values. Now, shared values, of course, means ideas or values that Taiwan and Lithuania share, that have brought Vilnius. Now, Vilnius is the capital city, 首都, of Lithuania. So we say Vilnius and Taipei to get closer while stressing the importance of continued economic cooperation. Okay, so I think we know all those words. Any questions about this before we read it? Okay, let's read it then. Lithuanian parliament speaker. Parliament speaker. Victoria, let's say this, Nielsen, yesterday highlighted the shared values that have brought Vilnius and Taipei, let's say it again, Vilnius and Taipei, closer, while stressing the importance of continued economic cooperation in a speech at the Legislative Yuan in Taipei. Okay. Okay, so let's go on. It says, she says, both Taiwan and Lithuania are guided by the belief that people are the creators of their own destiny. Nielsen, who is the first sitting Lithuanian speaker to visit Taiwan, said in her speech titled Beyond Borders, Vitality of Democratic Cooperation. Okay, so she says here these both countries are guided by, means they're led by, their idea, their foundation is the belief, the idea that people are the creators. Okay, creator means to create, 创意, to build, of their own destiny. Now this is a good word. I think some of you know this, but what is destiny? I have no idea how to say this in Chinese, but what is destiny? Yeah, it's kind of, that's pretty good. Fate. Fate. What else? Does anyone have any ideas? If we say it is your destiny to be the president of Taiwan, right? If someone said, let's say you see a child and they're really great, they're amazing, they can speak well, they seem to be really grown up for their age. We say, wow, this person is destined to become the president of Taiwan, or someone great. Okay, so we often say someone is, let's write this down, destined to, and then something, right? That's an E. Destined to. He is destined to do that. So he used the word that's kind of pretty interesting, fate, right? Your fate. Fate in Chinese, I'm trying to remember the word. What is it? It's 命运, right? Yeah. But destiny and fate are kind of similar. So your destiny means it's something that it's going to happen to you. It's almost like it's already been decided, like fate, 命运, right? So we say the destiny, they're creators of their own destiny, means they make their own destiny. They determine their own destiny, okay? Some people believe you can do that. Some people don't think you can do that because it's just fate, 命运, right? But anyhow, let's read this together. Destiny. Destiny. Okay, there's been some funny movies where, some 青少年, they see a girl and they really like her, right? And they go to this girl, this 女生, their classmate, and they say, you are my destiny, right? It's say like, we are meant to be together, right? You are my destiny, or I am your destiny, So anyhow, so let's read that over there. Is destined to. Is destined to. Right, so you can say he is destined to succeed. Or I guess you could say he's destined to fail, right? It could be either way. Okay, so they're creators of their own destiny, said this Nielsen, who is the first sitting Lithuanian speaker. Now here we have Lithuania, the speaker, like the Ichang. But this is a very interesting word here, and I want to explain this. You might think, well, what does that mean? She's sitting down? I mean, you're all sitting, right? But what does this mean here? She's the sitting speaker. Does anyone know what that means? Okay. It means that she is currently serving in her position. She's actively in her job. Now, if she wasn't, we would say what? Let's say she used to be, 本来是, right? Or before. We would say she is the former, 以前的, right? Former Lithuanian speaker. But if you say someone is the sitting speaker, it means they're the speaker right now. For example, right now we would say, who is the sitting president of Taiwan? It's Tsai Ing-wen, right? The former president is Ma Ying-jeou, right? But Tsai Ing-wen is the sitting president. It means she is sitting. You could think about it like she's sitting in her seat right now. She's in that job. So that's why we use the word sitting. So remember here, when you see this before a title, like speaker or president or whatever, 总经理 or whatever, it means that they are in the job right now. Okay. So she is the first sitting Lithuanian speaker to visit Taiwan. And her speech is called Beyond Borders. Okay, you know what a border is, right? Beyond the borders. Often it means we can cross borders. The vitality of democratic cooperation. Now, vitality is, what would be some other words for vitality? Not so much importance. There's probably a slightly different idea. Vitality means, what? Not so much reality either. I think when I think of vitality, closest thing I think of is energy, power. Okay, if something is vital, has vitality, usually means it's alive, it's active, it's growing. Okay, like often we think of young people having lots of vitality, like a young person. They have lots of energy, they're growing, they're active. So we say they are full of vitality. It's like a kind of a growing energy. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so why don't we say together vitality? Vitality. I think you get a lot of names that come, company 品牌 that come from this word. Like I always think in Taiwan, what's a drink that my friends all know is, what is it? Vitalan P, right? 维他露 P, right? It has that word vitality, right? Okay, it's vital. It gives you energy. Okay, so let's read this together. Both Taiwan and Lithuania, again, Lithuania, are guided by the belief belief that people are the creators of their own destiny. Destiny. Nielsen, who is the first sitting Lithuanian speaker to visit Taiwan, said in her speech titled Beyond Borders, Vitality of Democratic Cooperation. Let's say it again. Democratic cooperation. Okay. So it says here, Taiwan and Lithuania share a goal of preserving the principles of democracy, which serves as our common ground and a foundation for a relationship that transcends geographical distances, she said. Okay, now there's some good words here, some good phrases. Okay, so she's saying these two countries, Taiwan and Taiwan, right? They share a goal, and the goal, of course, is what? 目标, right? Or 目的地, or whatever you want to say. 目标, a goal of what? Of preserving the principles of democracy. Now, principles, you know what's principles, right? What does that mean? A standard, a rule, yeah, or actually another word that we often use instead of principles is ideals. Not ideas, but ideals, right? So ideal is something that, like an idea that you hold, a very strong idea. I'll tell you where I always hear this. You know, in Taiwan, I'm sure you all grew up singing, you know, 三民主义, right? The three principles of the people, okay? That's the English translation, where they say the three principles, that word, of the people. It's a 主义. It's an ideal, okay? So if you say, he has many strong ideals, or he has many strong principles, it means these are things that he thinks are very important to him. Okay? So let's say it together. Principles. Principles. Ideals. Ideals. Okay, now remember this word is spelled different from a very similar word. Sounds the same. What's this word? Principle. Same, yeah. Same pronunciation, but what does that word mean? A what? No. You're thinking about something very similar, but yeah, this is I think someone said it already. Not priority. This word here, so principle is 主义, right? But this word, principal, is a 校长. Yeah. So if you say he is the principal of this 国小 or the 高中 or whatever, he is the principal. So you notice here it's P-A-L, and of course here it's P-L-E. But the pronunciation is the same. It's just principal and a principal. I mean principal, it's the same, yeah. Okay, so yeah, if you see the A-L, it means 校长, okay? So actually she said something that's very similar. Similar idea, same kind of thing. We have, yeah. Capital. We pronounce it the same way, right? The first one at the top, and this is a very small difference. It's funny, I had to learn this even in university. This one with the AL, we often use for 首都. We say capital city, okay? Or, you know, but this word here with an OL, it stands for the building that the capital is in, okay? So if you go to Washington, D.C., we say Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States of America, or the capital city. But in Washington, D.C., there is a building. I'm sure you've seen pictures of this building, right? We say that is the Capitol building with the OL. It's a small difference, you know, anyhow. It's probably not something. We don't usually talk about the building. We talk about the city. So anyhow, don't worry too much about that. But anyhow, going back to this, preserving. Preserving means to keep, to maintain, to protect, right? There are many things we try to preserve. I think around the world, everyone wants to preserve their youth, right? People don't want to get old, so they try to find ways to preserve their youth. They use skin cream, they take vitamins, they try to exercise, they want to stay youth. They're trying to preserve their youth. Or some people try to preserve their beauty or their health or whatever, but you're trying to keep it, you're trying to save it. So here the goal of preserving the principles of democracy, which is what, 民主主义 or something like that. Okay? So, very similar. Let me see. Okay. It's a good question. Okay, conserve. The way we use conserve, C-O-N-S-E-R-V, is usually to protect a resource, okay? I'll give you an example. Where do we use the word conserve a lot? If you say, I want to conserve water, I want to conserve energy, I want to conserve my strength, it means I have something, like a resource, and I'm trying to keep it. I don't want to use too much of it. I want to save it, okay? But preserve is more like to protect something. Like we want to preserve, food. Yeah, how do we preserve food? What's the easiest way to preserve food? We use it every day. Refrigerator, right? A refrigerator is冰箱 is a way to preserve food. But and that's a good example, because to conserve food, to preserve food, you put it in the refrigerator, right? Because you don't want it to spoil, right? But to conserve food means you might eat less food, or you might cut back, okay? So do you understand that difference there? It's a small difference, right? Preserve means to protect it so it doesn't go bad, it doesn't spoil. But conserve means I'm not going to use as much. So if I say, well, I want to preserve this bread, okay, I'll put it in the refrigerator so it doesn't spoil. But if I say I want to conserve my bread, well, I might say, well, I'm only going to eat one piece per day because I don't want to use it up too fast. So there's a difference there, right? Does everybody understand that? Any questions? Okay. But good question, because these two words, they sound the same. They're very similar in a way. So why don't we say together, preserve, preserve, and then that word, conserve, conserve. Okay, so yeah. Okay, excellent question. Okay, so they share the goal of preserving the principles of democracy, which what? What are the 民主主義 are what? They serve as, or you could say they are, instead of saying serves as, you could simply say they are, or which are, our common ground. Now, when we say we share common ground, what does that mean? If you say he and I have lots of common ground, or there's some common ground between us, what does that mean? Does anyone know? It means we share the same ideas, okay? So if you're having an argument, with somebody, or you're negotiating with somebody, it's very important that you try to find some common ground. Let's say you have your idea, I have my idea, and we think, yeah, I don't know, maybe we cannot agree. But then I say, well, wait a minute. There's some ideas here that we can agree on, right? You and I can agree on this. We share those ideas. So that is common ground. It's almost like saying we share this ground with each other. So that is an idea, a 主义, or an idea or something that we shared with each other. So it's a very good word. You say common ground. I want to find common ground with them, or we have common ground. It means an idea. And common, of course, usually means shared. Common can also mean 普遍, right? Ordinary, common, or every day. But it can also mean something that we share. Okay. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay. Which serves as our common ground. Lithuania and Taiwan share this 民主主義 and a foundation for a relationship. Okay. Now, foundation. Do you know what a foundation is? Not the basement, but you're close. It's near the basement. Okay. Remember, I think I drew you this picture before, right? If you have a building, okay, and to build that building, you need to have a foundation, right? Usually when you watch, when they put a building up, they pour like, what is it? Not basement, because basement is underground. There's another room here. Let's say this is the ground, right? And maybe you have a stairway and it goes downstairs. This basement is underground, 地下, okay? So we call that the basement. Is this part here, BASEMENT, basement. That's the downstairs part. So this building has a parking basement, 地下停车场, right? Or we could say a basement parking too. Either way, you could say parking basement, basement parking. But anyhow, there's a parking basement. That's where I park my car, in the basement. But the foundation of the building is this base. It's almost like the building sits on top of it, right? If you don't have a good foundation, the building will fall down, right? Especially in Taiwan with all the Pizhen, right? This needs to be strong. And then this room or this area underground on Yixia is called a basement. There's another word for basement that we use sometimes, especially in America. It's a very common word. And we use it if we have a space under the building that we store things. It's like we put things down there. Does anyone know this word? It starts with a C. Yeah, I'll write it for you. Cellar. Okay. Now the word in Taiwan, this word gets used a lot for something that you hear, and it's maybe you've heard of a wine cellar. Wine is 葡萄酒, right? And so in many places, when you want to preserve your wine, remember this word preserve? You put it in a wine cellar. And why do we put it in the wine cellar? Because the wine cellar is cool and 凉快, right? And it's very dark. So if you put your wine there, you store your wine there, your 葡萄酒, you put many bottles there, it'll protect the wine. It will preserve the wine. Okay? Now, and where my parents are, my father's area in Bingzhou, people also put lots of food in the cellar because it's almost like a 冰箱. It's very cool and it's dark and it will help protect the food. So they'll store it down there. They don't want to store it upstairs. Maybe it's warmer upstairs and things can spoil more easy. So we call this also a cellar. But I think in most buildings, this is a more common word. Like in this building, we would not call that a cellar. We would call that a basement, a parking basement or a basement. Yeah. Everybody understand that? Any questions? Okay. So let's say this one more time. Foundation. Foundation. Basement. Basement. Cellar. Cellar. Okay. I will say one more thing. Cellars are usually smaller. They're not big, huge places. They're quite small. Okay. Now, foundation has other meanings too, right? In Taiwan and America, if you say, I work for a foundation, people are thinking, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you work at a foundation or I belong to a foundation, what does that word mean? Does anyone know? Yes, very good. 基金会. So a foundation, yeah. So a 基金会 is a foundation. That's another completely different meaning. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, a foundation for a relationship that transcends geographical distances. So here's what she's saying. She's saying that this shared idea of democracy, Taiwan and Lithuania have this idea of democracy that they share, these two countries. One is in, Dong-O and one is in Yazhou. This is their common ground. This is an idea that we share. And this idea becomes a foundation. It's like a base. It's like a foundation for Taiwan and Lithuania's relationship. That's the base for our relationship. That makes it strong. That transcends geographical distances. Now, geographical, geography is 地理, right? Distance means Taiwan and Lithuania have a big distance between them, right? I don't know how many thousands of gongli are between Taiwan and Lithuania. So there's a big geographical distance. But this democracy, this idea, transcends that distance. And transcends means to go above and beyond something. It's bigger than that. It's more. It transcends. So people would say, what ideas transcend other things? Some people would say love transcends all other problems. It's bigger and more important than everything else. So we say love is transcendent. It's more important. It's the most important thing. Or it might be something else like democracy. But if you say it transcends, it means it's greater than that. Okay? So this is a good statement. It's a good sentence with lots of interesting words. Does everybody understand what she's saying here? Does it make sense to you? Please, I love questions, so please ask if you don't know. Okay, so let's say this again. Transcends. Transcends. Geographical distances. Geographical distances. Okay, so let's read this together. Yes. A relationship that, well, we wouldn't say beyond, because beyond is a 形容词, right? And transcend is a 动词. So I'll give, okay, you could say this, a relationship that goes beyond geographical distances. Goes, because you need a 动词, right? So transcend is a 动词, so we could say goes beyond geographical distances. Yeah, you could say something like that. Okay, so let's read this. Taiwan and Lithuania share a goal of preserving the principles of democracy. Which serves as our common ground. Common ground. And a foundation for a relationship that transcends geographical distances, she said. Okay, so that's a photo caption. So it says here, or she says, I truly believe that shared values can bridge the largest geographical distances and bring people together, she said, adding that fostering strong relations between democracies is more important than ever in light of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Okay, again, these are some good things. So she said, I truly believe, I really believe that shared values, okay, we already talked about those shared values are 民主, democracy, can bridge the largest geographical distances. So here's this phrase again, geographical distances. Now, bridge, you know what that means, of course, right? But here, bridge is not a 名词, it's a 动词. And so what does this mean here? Connect, yes. Because what does a bridge do? It connects two sides, right? If you want to drive from one side to the other, you have to cross a bridge. So bridge here becomes a 动词. You say, I need to bridge the gap between him and me. Maybe we have very different ideas, so I want to find a bridge, or I want to bridge the differences between us. It means to connect or find a connection. Okay, so Taiwan and Lithuania, these shared ideas, these shared values, these shared principles can bridge the largest geographical distances. Even though Taiwan and Lithuania are very far apart geographically, this idea can bridge, connect Taiwan and Lithuania and what? And bring people together. She said, adding that fostering strong relations. Now, I think we've talked about this, but what is to foster? What's a simple word for foster? Not so much push. I mean, it's similar to push, but what? Raise or grow? Yang, right? Yang, to grow. So if you want to foster something, it means you want to develop it. You want to grow it, okay? This word gets used in a very interesting way. You can foster children, right? But raise children, grow children, I guess say grow children, raise children. I don't know if I think in Taiwan they have this. In America, we have a kind of, I guess it's a job. We call it foster parents. It's a special kind of parent. If, yeah, I think you know what this means. Let's say a child, they, not so much adoptive parents. it's foster parents are temporary, 暂时. Okay, so let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say a child, their parents have to go to jail. Maybe they commit a crime, or their parents ran away, or their parents are, there's some problem, some malbeing with their parents. The government will say, okay, we're going to take these children, we're going to put them in somebody's home temporarily. Yeah, it's not long term, and they're there. Now, you said adoption. Adoption is usually, what do you say, 收养? It's 长期, right? It's forever. But foster parents are temporary. Okay, I think I've shared with you. My sister is adopted. Okay, my mother did not give birth to my sister, but we adopted her when she was only 3 months old. Okay, because her mother died when she gave birth to her, and her father said, I need somebody to take care of my daughter, because he already had 7 kids. This is a long time ago. This is in Taitung. Okay, so my sister came from a 阿美族 background. Okay, so anyhow, we adopted her, and she's been part of our family ever since. But that's adopting, right? So foster parent would be temporary, maybe 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and then hopefully they can go to a real family, a long-term family. So, I never told you that about my sister? Okay, yeah. Her family was Ametu, right? And she had, I think, 7 brothers and sisters. Her father was a farmer, and when her mother gave birth to her, she died. And so her father was Ametu, he was a Jirutu, right? And he told the hospital is also Jiru Jiao Yiyuan. He said, I can't take care of another daughter by myself, right? So he said, can you find a Christian family, Jirutu, a Jati, that would be willing to adopt my daughter? And my mother was good friends with the nurses, the Hushu, and they were like, hey, we've got a little girl here. Would you be interested? Yeah. And so my mother, of course, was looking at this baby. And so then she asked my father, and she asked, I was only 3 years old. And they said, do you want a sister? And I was like, sure, no problem, when you're 3 years old, you're like, okay, great, wonderful. So yeah, so my parents agreed to adopt her. Yeah. So it was very interesting too. She never knew her birth. We say birth family. Birth family means the original family. She never knew her birth family until she was when she graduated from high school. She wanted to meet them. So my parents went through the trouble to find, through the hospital, they found her family. Unfortunately, her father had passed away, so she never met her birth father. But she met her brothers and sisters. It was kind of fun. It was very interesting. My whole family went with her to Chenggong. You know where Chenggong is? So we went there and met her birth family. It was very cool. So yeah, so she was able to make that connection. So, yeah. Okay, so anyhow, let's see here. Okay, so fostering, we said raising, growing, developing. That's another word for it. Let's say it together, fostering. Fostering. Okay, strong relations between democracies is more important than ever. Okay, more important than ever. It's super important now. It's extra important in light of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Okay, now when we say in light of something, it means because of that. Okay, let me think of something. You can say, well, in light of the hot weather outside, I decided to wear short sleeves. Okay, it means because of that, I decided to wear a short sleeve shirt. Okay, in light of it could be many things. In light of the typhoon that's coming, we decided to go shopping, because of the typhoon is coming. There's not a really typhoon coming, but if we had that. So does everybody understand when we say in light of something? In light of what he said, I decided to put more money in the bank. Okay, we can use this in many different ways. So fostering the strong relationship between democracies is more important than ever. It's extra important because of the invasion of Ukraine. Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine, right? Right? Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. Let's read this then. I truly believe that shared values can bridge the largest geographical distances and bring people together, she said. Adding that fostering strong relations let's say it again, strong relations between democracies is more important than ever in light of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine. Right. Okay. Describing cooperation between Taiwan and Lithuania as a litmus test to other democratic nations, Nielsen underscored the importance of the two nations continuing to develop their economic ties. Now, I don't know how to say this in Chinese, but a litmus test is a chemical test that, I don't even know what we use this for. In school we do this sometimes. You put a piece of paper in a chemical and it will change color. Yeah, so we call that a litmus test, okay? Now, here we're not talking about a real litmus test, right? But we're saying that the relationship, the cooperation between Taiwan and Lithuania is basically a sign, a symbol. It's like almost like a 代表. It's a symbol or sign or test for other democratic nations, like a way to measure democracy. I'm kind of guessing what her idea here is. I'm not absolutely sure, but maybe she feels like if you are a democratic country, you should have a good relationship with Taiwan because Taiwan is also democratic, right? So it's kind of like a litmus test. If you're not democratic, well then maybe you don't care. You like to say din or whatever, swanla. But if you are a democratic country, then you should have good relationships with other democratic countries like Taiwan. So in a way, it's like a test. It's like a litmus test. How democratic are you? Okay? So let's say it together. Litmus test. Litmus test. Okay. Now here's another word. Remember we talked about, what was that? We looked at, yes, underlined, stressed, okay? Here's another one. Underscored, okay? Underscored is also like if you draw a line underneath something, you underscore it, okay? So underscore would be very similar to these words here, underlined, stressed, emphasized, okay? So let's say that word together as well, underscored. Underscored. We could say emphasized, underlined, stressed, whatever. The importance of the two nations continue to develop their economic relationship, their 经济 relationship. Okay? So let's read this together. Describing cooperation between Taiwan and Lithuania as a litmus test to other democratic nations, Nielsen underscored the importance of the two nations continuing to develop their economic ties. Economic ties. Okay, so yeah, this is she's saying a lot of good things here about the relationship. Okay, it says several EU nations are watching closely whether cooperation between Taiwan and Lithuania will yield specific economic and investment results, she said. Okay, so EU, you know EU, right? EU is OMO, right? European Union. Okay, so several EU nations are watching closely. We could say they're watching carefully whether, if cooperation between Taiwan and Lithuania will yield specific economic and investment results. Now, yield is an interesting word. If you say yield something, it means to give up, but also to produce. When you create or produce something. So you can say this year the farms yielded a lot of rice. Or we can also say yield as a means. You can say the rice yield was great. It was very high or very abundant. 很丰富, right? So the yield is how much you produce. So it says here will yield, this is a 动词 here, specific economic and investment 效果, right? Results. Okay. Now, yield is used in another different way. And what does that mean? I don't know if you've seen this, but I'm sure you've seen this, of course. On the roads, when you're driving, there's sometimes a sign that says, in America, it says yield. But in Taiwan, what does it say? Rang. Yeah. So rang. It means if you're driving and you come to that sign, you're supposed to let other cars and motorcycles go first, and then you can go. So you yield to them. So this word has a very different meaning. For example, so if you say, I'm going to yield to your ideas, it means your ideas come before my ideas. Let's say we're having a discussion, and you say, well, I think we should do this then and do it this way. And I think, no, I think we should do it that way. And finally, I say, okay, I'm going to yield to your opinion. I'm going to yield to your ideas. It means I'm going to follow your opinion, or your opinion comes before my opinion. So it means to come before someone. Or to give in to someone else. So yield, if you're driving your car and you see a sign that says yield, means you have to rang, right? Allow them to go first. Does everybody understand that? So two different ideas or meanings behind this word. Let's say it together. Yield. Yield. Okay. So yeah. So anyhow, I think you know what this sentence means. Let's read this together. Several EU nations are watching closely whether cooperation between Taiwan and Lithuania will yield specific economic and investment results. Results, she said. Okay, let's go on then. It says, together we must show that collaboration between democracies is both right and mutually beneficial, she said. The partnership between Lithuania and Taiwan must become a success story, she said. Okay, now beneficial, what is benefit? I think you know this. If something is beneficial, what is it? It's what? Yeah, it's profitable. Yeah, you could say that. So what's the key word there in beneficial? It comes from the word benefit. Yeah, B-E-N-E-F-I-T. Okay, F-I-T. Okay, so benefit is like what? Like a 好处, something you get, right? You could say there are many benefits to working for that company. So beneficial means to give you. It's like a 形容词, to give you some sort of 好处. So let's say together, beneficial. Beneficial. So if it's mutually beneficial, what does that mean? Exactly. Mutual means shared, right? So often when we talk about something that is mutually beneficial, there's another phrase we use a lot. We say it is win-win, a win-win situation, right? 双赢, yeah, both sides win. So it's mutually beneficial, okay? So let's say it one more time, mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial. Right, okay. So together, of course, we must show that collaboration. Now, collaboration, I know we talked about this word before. What would be some other similar words? Yeah, cooperation. I think cooperation is probably the closest word. If you collaborate with someone, you work together. You cooperate with them. So collaborate. The 动词 is collaborate. To collaborate. Okay, so let's say it together. To collaborate. To collaborate. Collaboration. Collaboration. Okay, just like, and then it says here the partnership. Of course, partnership is for partners. Okay, it's a 名词. The partnership between Lithuania and Taiwan must become a success. It's a story. And often we say, wow, he is a success story. I think people look at people, we look at people like Steve Jobs from Apple, right, 苹果, or Elon Musk from Tesla, or Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, right? We say, wow, they are a success story, okay, because they become a big success, okay? So let's read this together. Together, we must show that collaboration between, let's say it again, collaboration between democracies is both right and mutually beneficial. Beneficial, she said. Okay, now and let's go on. The partnership between Lithuania and Taiwan must become a success story, she said. Okay. Oh, here's that word too. Okay. We just talked about this. Okay. Touting the Baltic nations' advanced laser manufacturing, life sciences, cybersecurity, and fintech sectors, she said that Lithuania would be an excellent partner for Taiwan and other Indo-Pacific stakeholders seeking to expand their high-tech business in Europe. Okay, so here's that word touting. Remember we talked about the word promoting, right? Promoting the Baltic nation. We also talked about that Baltic nation, meaning Lithuania. Advanced laser manufacturing. You know what laser is in Chinese, what? 雷萨, right? Or 雷射, sorry, 雷射. Advanced laser manufacturing. So they use, I guess they make lasers there. They manufacture lasers, 雷射, in Lithuania. Life science is a kind of science. I don't know how you explain in Chinese. I don't know what life science is, but it's a category of science. Okay, so life science. Cybersecurity, is what? What's another word for cybersecurity? We sometimes say what? But we say online security. Online means on the 网路, right? On the internet. And fintech. Now, fintech, I don't think we've ever used this word, but it's a very common word. It stands for two different words. F-I-N, fin stands for, does anyone know? Yes, very good. So it stands for financial technology. And what is financial related to, right? Money, right? Okay. Like banking, 银行, right? 投资, right? Or 股票, right? All that stuff is financial, right? Financial markets. So fintech is basically, there's all kinds of financial, like online banking and any kind of technology that's related to finance or financial industry. 这个行业. Okay? So let's say together, fintech. Fintech. Financial. And no one says financial technology. I don't hear people say that. They just say fintech. That seems to be the common word for this industry. Okay, so these are all different kinds of industries. 行业 or 工业, I should say. And she said, so she's been promoting Lithuania as strong in all of these areas. And then she said Lithuania would be an excellent partner for Taiwan and other Indo-Pacific, in-Thai stakeholders. Now, this word stakeholder is an interesting word because it sounds kind of similar to stockholder, right? If you buy stock, 股票 in a company, you are a stockholder, S-T-O-C-K, right? You hold stock. But stakeholder means that you have an interest or concern on something. It doesn't mean you bought a 股票. If you have a stake in something, let me explain this. So before, stake would be like stock. If you buy shares in a company, you hold a stake in that company. It means I own part of that company. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 50%, but I have a stake in that company. It means I own part of that company. But we can take this idea of stake, it means that I have an interest or I have something that is important to me in that. Okay? It doesn't have to be a 股票. It doesn't mean you have to invest money like a 股东 or something like that. It means I have interest in that. Okay? So if you say, for example, I don't want to be too sensitive, but next year? Yeah, next year. Taiwan has a big 选举, right? So we can say many different people have a stake in that election. It means that that election will impact them, 会影响到他们, right? It could be their company, their business, their future. So we can say we have a big stake in that election. Or it has a, or you can say, what are some other ways we use this word for stake? Yeah. Anyhow, I think you know what I mean, right? It means I have an interest in that. It's important to me. So it says here, Indo-Pacific stakeholders. Okay, these are companies, or not companies. These are countries, 国家, that have a very, this is important to them. Okay. So anyhow, if you have a stake in something, it means that you have an interest in it. That is important to you. So stakeholders seeking to expand their high-tech business in Europe. They want to grow their high-tech in Europe. Okay, so let's say this word together. Stakeholders. Stakeholders. Okay. Yeah, I want to emphasize this word stake has a lot of, it's a good word because it means that's important to me. I have an interest in that. That will impact me. So I have a big stake in that. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like I'm involved. But it's not just involved, it means it's important to me. It will have an impact. 会影响到我. Okay. And it's pronounced, of course, the same way as 牛排, steak, but it's a different word. Okay. Yeah. It's not that steak. Okay. Okay, so let's read this together. Touting the Baltic nations, advanced laser manufacturing, life sciences, cybersecurity and fintech sectors, she said that Lithuania would be an excellent partner for Taiwan and other Indo-Pacific stakeholders. Seeking to expand their high-tech business in Europe. Okay. Okay. I want to keep reading a couple more paragraphs because there's some good words here. It says, in July 2021, Taiwan and Lithuania announced plans to open a reciprocal representative office in each other's capital to strengthen bilateral relations. Okay, now they announced plans to open, of course, I think you know, representative office is like a, 办事处 that represents your country. What's this word here mean? Reciprocal. Mutual, yes, very good, excellent. So mutual means if you share something, if we say we have reciprocal ideas or reciprocal agreement, or sometimes I guess we could say shared, right? Okay, so it means that you have one, I have one, we share it. I mean, you do that on your side, I do on my side. So the idea of, actually, let me write another word here. This word is related to the word to reciprocate. That's an O. Okay. To reciprocate. That's a 动词. Okay. So if you reciprocate, it means that I do the same thing that you did for me. Okay. I'll give you a great example. In Taiwan, the government likes to have reciprocal agreements with other countries. Okay? So I'll give you an example. If my state, Bingzhou, my father's state, I should say, let's say if Bingzhou says, okay, you can use a Taiwan 驾驶执照 to drive your car in Bingzhou, then Taiwan says, okay, you can use a Bingzhou 驾驶执照 to drive a car in Taiwan. That's reciprocal. You reciprocate. I do this for you, and you give me the same benefit. Does everybody understand that? It's a very common thing. I'm trying to think of another reciprocal agreement. There's many reciprocal agreements. Just trying to think of a good one. Okay, Taiwan does the same thing with houses. If you want to buy if a 外国人 wants to buy a house in Taiwan, if they're the first one from their country, they have to prove that Taiwanese can buy homes in their country. If they say no, Taiwanese cannot own a house in our country, then Taiwan says, okay, sorry, you can't buy a house in Taiwan. That's a reciprocal agreement, or we say reciprocity. So anyhow, reciprocal representative office means that Taiwan opened an office in Lithuania, allowed Taiwan to open an office there, and Taiwan allowed Lithuania to open an office here. Okay, so let's say it together, starting with this word, because this is the 动词, to reciprocate. To reciprocate. Reciprocal. Reciprocal. Okay, so they announced plans to open a reciprocal or a reciprocal representative office in each other's capital. There's that word capital, right? 首都. To what? To strengthen bilateral relations. I know we've talked about this word many times. Bilateral means two sides, right? B-I means two, right? If it was three sides, we would say what? Trilateral. You know, if it was one side, we would say unilateral. U-N-I. If it was only just me, I'm only doing this unilaterally. One side, uni, N-I, U-N-I, unilateral, bilateral, trilateral, and then after that, it's many sides. We say multi, M-U-L-T-I, multilateral. So you could say if there's relationship or some exchange between 5 countries or 10 countries, we say multilateral relationships. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, so let's read this. In July 2021, Taiwan and Lithuania announced plans to open a reciprocal representative office in each other's capital to strengthen bilateral relations. Let's say it last part. Bilateral relations. Okay. Okay, so I think we can go on to other stories, but I think you remember why Lithuania has actually paid a big price for its relationship. Well, maybe not too big, but they've paid a price for their relationship with Taiwan. Because why? Because they allowed Taiwan to open an office that was called the Taiwanese Representative Office. And of course, who got angry about that? China, right? Because most offices like around the world, they don't use Taiwan, they use the word Taipei. they say Taipei representative office, but Lithuania said, no, we can use Taiwan. And of course, China was like, okay. I don't think China actually 断交. I don't think they broke relations, but they told their ambassador, the Lithuanian Litauen 大使馆, they said, go home, get out. And so, and Lithuania said, okay, sure, fine, go ahead, fine, no problem. So I think Lithuania has been a very good friend to Taiwan. Okay. This has been a pretty big story or interesting story, and let's just go to this one. Okay, so it says here, China silent on why defense minister removed from post. Okay, post means what? If you hold a post, it means you hold a what? A position. Yes, very good. Position, a job, right? What's your post? What's your job? What's your position? Okay, so China is silent. They're not saying anything on why their 国防部长 was removed from his post, from his job. So it says here, China yesterday refused to explain why it removed Li Shangfu as Minister of National Defense from office a day after he was fired, following weeks out of the public eye. Now, this is a very interesting expression. What is the public eye? Does anyone know what that means? What would be a simple way of putting that or expressing that idea? What? Kind of, but it more, what? Not so much press. It simply means out of public view, or attention. So if you can say right now he is really in the public eye, it means that many people are watching him. He's very visible. Everyone sees him. So, when we think about people who are in the public eye right now, well, there's many politicians. In Taiwan we have an election, so those people are really in the public eye. It could be a movie star, right? If you're Tom Cruise, right? You're in the public eye. Everyone knows who you are. You're very, very popular. But if you're out of the public eye, nobody sees you. You're invisible. You disappear, okay? So if you can say he disappeared from public, or he is not in the public eye, or he's out of the public eye, it means the public cannot see him. Okay, so that's what public eye means. So they refused to explain why they removed this person. Now, of course, now they said he was fired. Okay, he was out of his job. Okay, so let's read this together. China yesterday refused to explain why it removed Li Shangfu as Minister of National Defense from office a day after he was fired, following weeks out of the public eye. Okay. It says here, in a major reshuffle of top leadership, Beijing on Tuesday announced that Li and former Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs Qin Gang had been removed from the cabinet. Now, you know what cabinet means, right? Taiwan has a cabinet. What do they call that? It's I think usually they refer to that as the 行政院, right? The cabinet. All the 部长 are part of the cabinet. In America, the cabinet would be the Department of, the Department of State, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Interior. We use the word secretary. It doesn't mean 秘书. It means like a 部长. But in Taiwan, we use minister, the Minister of National Defense. In China, we use minister too. But all those heads of those big 部 are the cabinet. Okay. Now, cabinet can also mean something very ordinary. 很普遍. What is a cabinet? I'm sure there's probably one in your house. Yeah, you put your clothes in there, you put your books in there, you put your, it's a piece of furniture, right? Usually made out of wood, often wood. Okay, so let's say together, cabinet. Cabinet. Now, it says here in a major or big, reshuffle. What does the word shuffle mean? What would be, if you want to shuffle something, what does that mean? Yeah, reorganize, organize or mix, mix, to mix up, okay? I don't know if many of you do this, but what do we like to shuffle? Cards, yes. If you play like 扑克牌, every time after you finish playing, you have to bring the cards together and you shuffle the deck. The deck is, in poker, 扑克牌, there's 52 cards, right? In a deck, or a full deck. And so you shuffle the cards, okay? There's many ways to shuffle cards. But so that's what shuffle means. But shuffle here means to reorganize, to reshuffle, okay? So why don't we say together, shuffle, shuffle, reshuffle, reshuffle. Okay, so in a reshuffle of top leadership, they announced that, this 国防部部长 and their 外交部长 Qin Gang have been removed from the cabinet. They're not in the cabinet anymore. Okay, so let's read this together. In a major reshuffle of top leadership, Beijing on Tuesday announced that Li and former Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs let's say that last part again. Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs Qin Gang had been removed from the cabinet. Okay. It says he was also stripped of his state councilor title and membership of the government's highest national defense body. Okay, now if you strip something, it means you take it away. You strip it, Obviously, sometimes people say they strip off their clothes. In fact, if you go to certain bars, there's strippers, right? Yeah. But anyhow, we say to strip something. If you strip someone of their title, it means you take away their title. They no longer have it, okay? We can strip many things. You can say he was stripped of his honor or respect. He lost his honor. He lost his respect, his title, anything that's taken away from you. Okay, so let's say together, stripped, stripped. Okay, so he also lost his state councilor title. This is another title. And membership in the government's highest national defense body. So this is some sort of national 国防 organization within the government in China. I don't think Taiwan has this, but it's a national defense body. Body means, of course, organization, or government organization. Okay, so let's read this together. He was also stripped of his state councilor title and membership of the government's highest national defense body. Let's say it again, national defense body. Okay, and that's a photo. Okay, it says here, no replacement for his role was announced. When asked about the firings yesterday, Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Mao Ning told journalists that she did not have any other information to provide. Okay, so a replacement, of course, if you lose your job or leave your job, then they have to find a replacement usually. But no replacement for his role, for his job, was announced. Okay, now here firings becomes a 名词, right? You can fire somebody, but you can say the firings or the firing. It's a 名词. It's a noun. She said she did not have any other information to provide. Which, to be honest, is quite shocking, right? a country that big, important, like China, it's like, yeah, we don't have any information about who's going to do. No comment, but it seems very. If you're gonna fire somebody as a 国防部部长, you should have a replacement, right? I mean, this is an important job for a very, very big country, right? And you're like, oh yeah, we don't have any information. Sorry, it's just crazy. Okay, so let's read this together. No replacement for his role was announced. When asked about the firings yesterday, Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Mao Ning told journalists that she did not have any other information to provide. Okay. It says Mao instead referred media to state news agency Xinhua, which also provided no information about their removal from office. Let's read this paragraph too. If you're concerned about whether China is transparent, what I can say is that we release information on all appointments and removals of personnel in a timely manner. I find this very funny statement. What does transparent mean? Clear, but also, yeah, very clear. Like, I think in Chinese it's 透明, right? It's transparent. That glass is transparent. I can see right through it, right? So if someone is very transparent, or a government is very transparent, it means everything's very open. You can see it very clearly. So why don't we say a word together? Transparent. Transparent. So if I said his goal is very transparent, it means his 他的目标, his goal is very 很明显, right? I can see it very clearly. It's not hidden. Okay? So she says if you're worried that China is transparent, or if China is transparent, what I can say is that we release information on all appointments. Of course, appointments are people who are appointed to jobs, and removals, people who lose their jobs, of personnel, 人才, or 人事, in a timely manner. Now, if you say something is timely, what does that mean? What's another way of saying it's timely? On time. Yeah, it's on time, in an on-time way, an on-time manner. Okay, it's not delayed, it's timely. So, in the right time, on time. Okay, so why don't we say together, timely. Timely. Okay, in a timely way. Manner, of course, means way. Okay, so I find her statement to be very ironic, right? Because both Qinggang and this other guy were removed and nobody knew what happened. There was no announcement. They just disappeared. And they went on for weeks and weeks. And then finally, like, oh, yeah, they lost their jobs. Well, who's the replacement? Oh, well, we don't know. So it's not transparent. That's the whole point, right? Okay, and nobody knows why, right? Why do they lose their job? 谁知道, right? Okay, so let's read this. Mao instead referred media to state news agency Xinhua, which also provided no information about their removal from office. If you're concerned about whether China is transparent, what I can say is that we release information on all appointments and removals of personnel in a timely manner, she said. Let's say this word one more time. Personnel. Okay, this is not personal, It's not P-E-R-S-O-N-A-L. Personal means, my 我自己的, right? That's my personal job or my personal opinion. But here, this is personnel. It's pronounced differently. So personnel, not personal. Okay, so personnel. One more time. Personnel. Personnel. Okay. Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for today. But I think I'll see you again next Thursday. And I will remind you one more time about COMPASS Festival. So, yeah. Okay, have a good week. We'll see you next time.